Hello, this is Greg Allison from Green Greg's coming to you on the 22nd of January, 2021. And we're going to talk about playing the deck we're dealt. Oh, and by the way, the time on deck is actually 21:35 Central Standard Time. Okay, I'm going to stop the share. I just wanted to see this idea, playing the deck we're dealt. So what are we going to talk about here? Well, that should be pretty obvious. Yeah, pardon the clothes. I've been to a funeral today and I just hadn't had a chance to change yet. Talking about time, let's start our time. Playing the deck we're dealt. Yeah, by the way, I had a guy that used to work for me here. He's was a good guy. That was him when he was in the Army many years ago. Eddie Gardner. Really good guy. He worked for me here. Today was his last day above ground. Let's just put it that way. But yeah, oh yeah, funky colors here. That's right. That's the best I can find with a matching shirt and tie in short order. But let's go with my black cap. Okay, let's get on with it here. Guys, don't hold your breath expecting the cavalry right now. I'm seeing a lot of email and messages and things going across social media, just everywhere, just raining messages. And it's kind of like all the stuff back from the days of the letter with a squiggly tail, talking about what all was just about to happen, what all was imminent to happen just any minute now for 4 years, and none of it ever come to pass. And in the same vein, I'm hearing the same kind of things now that, there's people are saying that Mr. T will be back in the House of White by the 4th of March, or he's setting up another White House in Mar-a-Lago, or just all kind of stuff out there, just popping around everywhere. Well, these are the same people that told us he wasn't leaving in the first place. And before that, he wouldn't have been impeached the first time. Should have been if what they were saying were true. That, originally they said there was umpty-ump 1,000, it was like 10, 20, 30, 40, 1,000 affidavits. All these people are going to be arrested immediately. And then it was 80,000. And here at the end, they were claiming 200,000 imminent arrests coming. Oh yeah, prior to that, they claimed that Tom Hanks was arrested and in Guantanamo. No, he never was. None of that come true. They're out there crying wolf. I think the whole thing was a psyop for the purpose to keep us from doing the things that we need to do, from playing with the deck we're dealt. Now we're dealt the deck and we need to deal with it. We got to be real. We got to deal with the reality in front of us and quit living in, don't overdose on hopium. We can have hope, but don't overdose on hopium. Maybe things that come to pass that are more in line with what you're looking for, wouldn't be in line with what other people are looking for. We're not going to make everybody happy, but don't bank on it. Don't hold your breath. I'm saying, you might be able to hope for 2024 if you want to see Mr. T return with the title of a P, be a POTUS. But they are prosecuting a conviction for the impeachment with the intention to bar him from that. Now that I think he could stop that. I don't think they got the legal basis, but hey, we'll see. There's a lot of stuff to see, but that's not what this video is about. This video is about what you need to do, how you need to do it. Here's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about what the cards are that we hold. We're going to talk about the cards that we can play. We're going to talk about things like self-sufficiency, individual and community. We're going to talk about, sustaining our freedoms. We're going to talk about our defense, how we maintain that, what we can do at our level. And we're going to talk about globalism. And we're going to talk a little about spirituality, just a little bit, just to the idea we need to be there. Now, this is not a religious channel, so we're not going there into the depths. It's just a point for your self-sustainability. Because the proposition of my channel is if you survive, thrive, and stay out of the hive. Some people are accusing me of being a fearmonger. If you want to catch a fearmonger, go to MTV. Yeah, Chris there, he won't disappoint you. accusing me of being a fearmonger. So, accusing somebody of being a fearmonger because you live here next to prison. You need to be careful just in case, and take precautions in case there's a break and these guys come to your house. Oh, there's a hurricane out in the ocean that might come this way. It looks like it might come. So you better board your windows. Maybe you need to get out of town. I shouldn't tell people these things. There are things going on in our society. Our society has an enormous amount of tension that we need to be prepared for. Some people say, oh, Greg, all these things are nothing burgers. Well, you know what? We've already had a lot of people experience censorship on social media. To those of us that's experienced that, was not a nothing burger. And to the people that were involved with things that went down on the 6th, on either side, that was not a nothing burger. To the places that experienced things back in the summer, that was not a nothing burger. Fortunately, for most people, it didn't happen where they were at. And that's the good news. And that's the way a lot of these things are. And we hope that they can stay like that. Now, I do have a lot of optimism. I have a whole other channel called Galactic Gregs. The whole purpose of Galactic Gregs, no apostrophe after between the G and S, okay? Jerry G.S. The whole purpose of that channel is to talk about a bright future. And I'm even working on designs for a space habitat in the atmosphere of Venus. Yes, that's possible. If you want to see it, go there. It's based and somewhat on the universal habitat concept that I presented on this channel, and we'll present more in the future. We'll talk about that a little bit too. So I am doing things for the future, and these steps, the cards that we're going to talk about, are for the future, so that you can survive, thrive, and stay out of the hive in the case of adversity, we hope. When it hits the fan, it's best to have a shelter, like a storm shelter or whatever, to get out of the flow of the fan. That's part of the objective. So that is not fear mongering, it's practicality. And I do hope, and I've said in the past, that one of our objectives is, if it hits the fan, to be able to stand up after it's over and shake it off and rebuild a better society. Now, and we can hope and pray that it don't hit the fan. I've said that. I've talked about the universe and the solar cup just for that objective, and that touches on the spirituality part. So there's always something like that we can discuss. There's always things like that, and I cover those. And I've also done videos to dispel certain fears that other channels are putting out. There was a channel putting out, that, hey, we're going to be hit by asteroids. He had intel from Defense Department, Pentagon, and intelligence agencies, telling him that this was going to happen, and we would not be able to deny by September of last year. So come out in August, I said, not happening. I do that. I do the other side. And I've also taken a swap at President Trump when he did not pardon, when he threw basically Julian Assange under the bus. And everybody then was, oh, Greg, don't worry about it. He's going to get him over here, and then he's going to take care of him, and he'll take care of him, and then nothing will happen. He didn't do anything. He still hasn't done anything. So I'm still very disappointed with that. So, what's it saying? What did Jesus say? He said, trust no man. I wasn't trust no man. It was put your faith, I forget the exact words, put your faith in no man, saith the Lord, something like that. It's, don't rely on a single human being. We're all fallible, every one of us. And so we shouldn't have cults of personality. And there's people that can help us more and lead us. George Washington led us militarily to become a free nation. And that's worth, that's definitely worth paying homage to. And if you got somebody doing it, you get behind them. If you in those periods of time. Okay, so let's get on with it here. The cards that were dealt are what's in play right now. It's part of it, but there's the cards you can play from that. We got a deck. We know that right now, Mr. B is in the House of White. Mr. B is the president. President Biden is in the White House. Okay, there he is. He's there. A lot of you said it wouldn't happen. It happened. So it is what it is. So whether you think he's going to be there or not, that's the card we're dealt. So let's deal with it and move on. Both houses of Congress are under control of the Democratic Party. That's a fact. Let's just move on. It's the ways to deal with these things. But we do know also that the Supreme Court, for what it is or isn't worth, is in the hands of the other party, pretty much conservatives, pretty much. But, you know, the conservative Chief Justice is probably anything but. He's probably conservative, what we would call a rhino in Republican parlance, Republican in name only. All right, so that's the cards at hand right there. Part of it. That's what part of what we're dealt. That's what we got to work with. Or maybe it's the tables the cards sit on, however you want to look at it. What can you do? What can you play? One is we can work towards self-sufficiency. I think that's one of the key things that we can do, is be as self-sufficient as possible, so we don't have to rely on others and government and this program and that program when they may or may not be there. And they may try to cut you off for whatever reasons, like deplaning people on social media. So let's build resiliency by going to other meetings. I'm planning to do that. And let's be more self-sufficient ourselves. And one of the best ways to be self-sufficient, of course, is make sure you got a good home that is self-sufficient. These stick-built homes like this, they really eat up too much energy. You know, the heat just goes through these walls. You put insulation in them, it still goes through. You're out in the environment. They're subject to tornadoes, and you know, they're not radiation proof. They're not very fireproof. They are what they are. This was the state of the art that we're all accustomed to building homes. And I'm working on a different concept, which is like an Earthship on steroids. It's not an Earthship, because an Earthship is a specific style that belongs to a certain man. He's patented and trademarked all that stuff. So what I'm talking about is my universal habitat. It's scaled a bit larger. It's scaled to what I call our DeVace unit. If you know the DeVace family from Pasadena, California, well, 1/10 of an acre. So you can, or you know, you can scale them differently. But the whole idea is to be able, for how many people are indoors of this thing, 1/10 of an acre for 4 people, basically. If you got one person, it could be a quarter of that. But it's to be able to grow enough food in there that you can eat. And guess what? 1/10 of an acre, that family had a family of 4 living off of 1/10 of an acre, growing all their own food and selling from that 1/10 of an acre and making a living. Now, they were very industrious, frugal, and hardworking. They really worked that 1/10 of an acre to make that work, but it did. And they just used raised bed gardening and some trellis and a little vertical farming, you know, around the fences, and not everywhere. But, you know, they were real clever, worked real hard, and managed to make it work. They made a living doing it. They lived meagerly, but they were very happy people because they didn't have to run the rat race. I've got a couple of videos on them. And, you know, maybe I'll get back out there in not too distant future and get some more, or get them involved in my universal habitat project. So we'll talk more about this universal habitat in the future. I'll do a whole video on that again, very specifically on that. I've done a couple others, but it kind of was mixed in with other content. So we're going to focus on that like a laser in a future video. Okay. So that's one thing. But one thing that you can start right now, you can reinforce these houses, sandbag around. We're going to talk about how to do that kind of stuff in the future to make them more resilient. But we'll discuss that kind of stuff in the future. Now, the other thing that you can do is, you know, one, secure your water supply. If you're on city water, just make sure you got extra storage, and how filtration filtration is purification. You need purification and sanitation. That's 2 different things. It means for your water. Filters do not take out viruses. I don't care. No, they don't. I mean, so, oh yeah, they get right. No, they don't. They take out bacteria, not viruses. So, but you can get rid of those. I cover that in my water purification video, what to do and how to handle that, and through many different means in that video. Okay, so just bear in mind that the other thing you need to be able to do is grow your own food. And to be totally self-sufficient, you want to be able to grow your own food without having to go to, you know, stores, you know, co-ops and garden centers and stores to buy fertilizer and potting soil and this and that. The way you do that is to compost, and use something to accelerate that composting and to make it a more potent ingredient for your garden that provides a lot of nutrition in a way that don't burn your plants up, like worms with worm castings. That's perfect. Maybe brew some worm tea. So having worms and composting eliminates a whole lot of the other supply chain things that you would need to have to go outside to get. We'll cover more garden stuff in the future. I'll do videos on what to do for natural pesticides and herbicides. I don't use anything. I don't use any of that stuff in my garden. The biggest thing I've had to deal with was stink bugs, what many would call squash bugs. But I haven't had a problem with those since I started this channel. Isn't that funny? I was wanting to do a video to show you how to deal with them. I just didn't have any. So that's kind of interesting. I had them the years before, though. But we'll get around to that, okay? So growing a garden is an immense step towards self-sufficiency. Get yourself self-sufficient with respect to as much food growing as you can. And you can grow food indoors. I got that covered in videos too. Now, the other thing you can do is develop a business. Yeah, a business. And, you know, I've talked about some of these things. I've talked about worm farming as a business. I've talked about market gardening as a business. I've talked about microgreens as a business. And I've even went outside of these realms. I did a series called Quarantine Living. And one of the things I talked about in there was starting a courier service. So, you know, it's totally out of all these other things I've talked about. But what can anybody do wherever they live, in a city? Maybe these others don't fit. So I did a video on starting a courier service. And I showed you what you needed to do to get started in that. So there you go. I'll return to some of that kind of stuff. And should President B do what he said he'd do and increase the lockdowns in order to control the bug going around, we might find my quarantine series coming back. Quarantine Living, I call it, kind of like Southern Living, you know, the magazine, Martha Living. Yeah, Eddie loved Martha. So, yeah, what was her last name? You get brain lock a lot. So, yeah, there's a lot of things to look at. So freedoms. And we're going to go into freedom. Oh yeah, by the way, if you're going to grow a garden, help me and help yourself by going to my links to True Leaf Markets. You need seeds. Right now is a good time to start your right now, because you can actually start seeds indoors, especially if you got a greenhouse. If you don't, just start some stuff on a windowsill, because then you can have plants you can transplant once it gets warm enough outside. You got a big head start. Bang, right there, a big head start. That'll help you out a lot. So grow rack somewhere in your house. That hard to do. Just do like my microgreen racks. See my microgreen videos. You'll be surprised what you can grow indoors. But when you take something indoors to outdoors, you got to harden it off. You got to gently introduce it to the outdoors. I did a video talking about hardening off your kids because I think we're too soft on them. So, you know, so there's that kind of stuff. I got tons of videos I've done, and you know, you just got to go down and find them all. There's nothing. A lot of people see a video of mine and they'll make a snap judgment about everything I cover. All my videos kind of fit in context together. If you take any one individually, you really won't know what I'm talking about. I'm like building a house brick by brick. That brick by itself is not going to tell you where we're going. You got to see them all to get the idea of the greater design where I'm taking you with this channel. Okay, so that's why it's really worthwhile to check out a lot of my other videos, especially when I cross content areas. There's a reason I do that. So, and you know, but it hurts my subscription base very enormously to do that, though. So maybe I need to split my channel up one day down the road. I might do that. Anyway, we'll see how that goes. So we're going to go talk about freedoms here now. And I've done a number of videos on freedoms, and I'm going to do another one here probably this weekend. I'm going to take content that I sent to another guy, and he really jazzed it up. So I'm just going to recut it and send it back to you. Well, this is really cute. Ransom is the guy's name. He's got a channel called 420 Freedomness Films. He did a bang up job, excuse me, on some video of me talking about freedom. It was for the 4th of July last year, but right now, freedom is a good area to concentrate on. So I think this would be a good time to release a video on that one. Recut. Okay. So many of you know that I'm started this Freedom Restoration Foundation. Note the name is Restoration Foundation, not Preservation Foundation. So the name should tell you what it's all about. Well, the Freedom Restoration Foundation, we're intending to work, one of the projects being sanctuary cities, counties, that kind of stuff. And we're already engaged to work in a project here in Alabama. And we've got stuff going in Arizona, and we want to spread this out to everyone so that we can really get moving, work in sanctuary states, sanctuary constitutional right states. That's what we're talking about, to preserve these things in case somebody is going to do the things they said they were going to do. Some people said, Greg, all this is nothing, burger. Let's wait and see what he's going to do. I was reacting in the previous video to things that he said he was going to do, and he's already signed. And for part of it, what I was talking about was things that pertain to executive orders he had already signed. I mean, you know, I wasn't making that stuff up out of thin air, guys. So anyway, freedom. So we're going to work freedoms on the city, municipal, mainly county and state level for the sanctuaries. We've got a whole lot of legislation we've already identified that's in Congress. We know what committee it's in, who the sponsors are. So we're going to be putting that out through our foundation. We're working up a website so we can handle these things. And we're going to do other things. We're going to talk about, you know, the corporate cabal companies, ones you might not want to trade with so much, right? So that's one thing we might put out there. But, you know, we're going to be dealing with legislation and identifying things that we ought to go after and letting you know about it, telling you how to do it. Because enabling you to have the tools to reach out and telling people to reach out en masse and talk to their congressmen, to educate their congressmen about an issue. These congressmen, you know, mainly the only thing they ever typically care about is jobs in their district. So they get, well, I bought you all these jobs, and so, you know, expecting to get votes in return for it. So that's about the only thing that can fit inside of a congressman's bean. So maybe what we're going to do is ask you to help expand that. And I've had tremendous success doing this kind of activity in the National Space Society when I was chairman of the Policy Committee for 10 years. Tremendous success. And by the way, the wreckage of the DCX rockets in my backyard, I was one of the key people that pushed that thing through politically and caused that project to happen. And that's not the reason I got it in my backyard, though, but I was in the DCX Hall of Fame. Not because it's in my backyard, but because I was one of the political people that pushed it politically to happen. I actually lobbied bureaucrats within the Department of Defense, within the SDIO office, SDIO, okay? That's the guys I used to work for. And I actually lobbied them with my phone tree that I was chairman of in the National Space Society. So, and I took it upon myself. I couldn't get a hold of the guy at the time who was the executive vice president and chair of the policy committee. This is before I became chair of the policy committee. And I also had a big impact on the current architecture of the mix between federal and private space programs. I think that enabled both to proceed forward. And when I got to Senator Bill Nelson, when he had to make a critical decision on that years ago, about 11 years ago, and that's detailed out in an article I can enunciate to you later. I've shown you that article, I think, before. It was in Ad Astra magazine. Anyway, so I've had success. I've got a track record for working political action in several areas. That is something I know. And I know we can do it. We just got to get together. And so, and part of it is just educating these Congress critters on issues and what they are and why they're important to you. And it's not just Congress critters, it's state legislatures. We've got a state legislature that we've been working with here in Alabama. And for some time, our local group here, we got a local group. We've got chapters in this, and we're going to do other chapters. It needs to be activism chapters. But I also think our survival tribes can be another type of chapter. We can have different chapter types, as did the National Space Society within the Freedom Restoration Foundation. I think it'd be easier to kind of handle things rather than me having two separate organizations, one for tribes and one for the other. So I got the Freedom Foundation to agree to take the tribes in. Now, the tribes don't have to join, though. I'll still help them get set up whether they want to join that or not. But it's just it's an umbrella that organization can help out with all that, because I think tribes are going to be part of their solution for freedom. And I'm going to go into that in just a moment here. So, in fact, yeah, I meant to bring that up under self-sufficiency. When I talked about self-sufficiency, me go back up. Self-sufficiency. I said grow a garden, develop a business. There was the community aspect of that. I jumped down to freedoms. So let me back up to self-sufficiency. And what I want to talk about here is community. And I think communities are a big part of self-sufficiency. And what we need to have is these survival communities, these tribes I've been talking about. And these tribes, survival communities, are a way that people can have each other's back if it hits the fan, because you might be with a spit wad and a straw, you might be the best in the West, but you got to sleep sometimes. Sometimes you're a little off your game. You can't always be William Tell every time it comes around, if you know what I mean. You might not hit that apple just right. So it helps to have a mutual assurance group, a group of people that can have each other's back, watch each other's six in the parlance of these groups. You know, I got your six. You need somebody to have your six, because I told the story in a previous video of a friend of mine who went in a wasp encrusted well house when we were kids with a water hose and two pieces of well pipe, and wiped out every wasp in there and without getting a single sting. He had my six. I had his six, and it worked. And that's why you need these groups, okay? I can talk more about that in the future. But that's in one of my previous videos talking about why you need a tribe. Now, I think that was the one I started talking about. Yeah, we're going to start building these things. You know, this is taking a little more time than I want, but we're still going, okay? So I have other objectives from other than just, you know, having a mutual assurance group. I think we can develop these things into communities and network them so that we can trade amongst each other and have basically our own economy. So if, you know, let's say you have to have a certain thing put into you that you don't want to have put into you in order to trade, maybe you're outside the system. We got our own system, and it will promote freedom, and it will promote resilience and sustainability amongst our groups. And if everything does go down, hey, we can still operate and get around, we hope. So these are all things, but it could also be, so it's got an economic aspect to it. And you can build communities where different skill sets are needed. Remember I said start a business? It might help you in that regard if you're within a group like that, where part of your business is helping to serve other members of the group. There's other things, other trades you can pick up. Trades are in great short supply right now. If you can do a trade, then that would be a very valuable thing in the future. We're in right now. We're short tradesmen. We got tons of college degrees versus tradesmen are short. Well, if the power goes out, most of the things you study in college, you know, won't be very much useful. So that software engineering job you just got, well, without power, yeah, you're not doing a whole lot. And my daughter went into that. She's doing very well with it, very well right now. But man, I've done a good bit of that myself. But you know, without power, yeah, it's kind of hard pressed. But we're going to get to the power aspect here too again in a minute. But also, these communities can be environmental communities. They can be communities that are little eco communities. Because really, if you're going to be self-sustainable, that's what I'm talking about, self-sufficiency. If you got self-sufficiency, that kind of goes hand in hand with self-sustainability, which goes hand in hand with being an eco-village. I mean, it all makes sense together in an integrated package. Also, if you're growing your own medicinals, you're not reliant on the man and his poisonous stuff he gives you. And what goes back into the environment is your own waste. Isn't containing stuff that's creating four-eyed frogs, okay? Or transgender frogs, you know. Maybe not even, I won't go there. So, yes, the environment is important. It is important. And we got to live in this world. This world is a big fish bowl, and everything we put in it goes out into the fish bowl, and we're swimming around in this fish bowl, okay? So we best keep it clean. And the space habitat's got to be even more so. I would say herbs is what you need in space habitats too. You don't need a whole factory to produce them. You just need seeds. Grow them. Herbal medicinals. Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people aren't happy to hear that. But hey, in terms of what you want to put in your environment and have to clean out, and especially with a small closed loop ecological life support system, bang, recycles nicely, breaks down. It's organic. All right. So, yeah, so we've talked We've talked about self-sufficiency from the aspect of your home, your garden, developing a business, the community. We've talked about a survival community. We've talked about the economics and environment. We've talked about freedoms. So the other aspect of freedom is, freedom from globalism. And we're going to go into that and tie into that also as part of our one of our next to last topics. Defense. As a group or a nation or whatever it is, you've got to worry about somebody coming in from the outside. Also, if we all lived in these habitats and everybody in the world had them, nobody would have a whole lot of incentive to be attacking each other. You have everything you need. That's the beauty of self-sufficiency. The more self-sufficient you are, the less you need somebody else and somewhere else. You got it right here. And I'm gonna do a whole video on this. We'll see. It's dependence, what it could mean for world peace and everything else. World peace, world peas, you can have both. So defense. The key thing with defense is defense through strength. But one of the key strengths is not have weaknesses. This is, okay, so you're not going to be building an M1 Abrams tank. Oh, I've worked on M1 Abrams tanks. So you're probably not going to be building an F-15. Yeah, I've worked on those. And I've worked on helicopters, Black Hawk helicopters. I've done a little bit of that. But so you're probably not going to be doing these kind of projects yourself for defense. It's not something most people are going to be doing, and you don't have to. Or the thing that might invite an attack on us mostly is our weaknesses. That's where they want to hit. The key way not to be hit is not to have the weakness. I'm not talking about the number. M1 Abrams tanks, M1A1. That's what I used to work on. How about our key weakness? The real Achilles heel in this country is our power grid. It's too easy to take down, and it would totally devastate this country completely, bring this country down to non-existence if you take out enough of the big 200 to 400 ton transformers. Okay, it's fear mongering again. No, I'm talking about this because we can prevent it. If we put our heads in the sand, it's going to happen. The sun's going to take them out. We put our head and say, that's the whole thing. That's why I talk a lot about these other countries, Iran, China, because this is Russia. This is the first thing they do to us. If we can take that off the table, it makes hitting us a little less attractive because this is just too easy. It's like taking candy from a baby and would wipe us out. That don't need to be like that. That we can fix. And that's why I've chaired 2 power grid defense conferences before I even started the YouTube channel. That's why I'm working with Dr. Peter Pry and his organization right now. And you'll be hearing more on that in the future. But I've also done videos to tell you what you need to do to take care of yourself. And I've done videos, talk with Ambassador Hank Cooper. He used to be the head of the SDI program, a major Pentagon program. Only got about 1,000 views. Really, this guy told you how he got the Carolinas and Duke Power behind getting their grid hardened. Nobody else has done that. It's like the most powerful video on this topic out there in YouTube land, and he gets 1,000 views. Some guy sitting on his front porch, I think the power grid's at risk, gets 40,000 views. So, okay, and his channel's like a quarter my side. Well, he did bring up some good stuff. Good for him. He should have got it. But that guy who's telling you what to do, I think he ought to get more than at least 1,050. About a few more views for that, guys. The guy is talking about what you need to do. Anyway, so there you go. We don't want to have those kind of weaknesses in our systems. Other things that, we can see stuff like that. We can do stuff about it. See, this is things that you can work on. And, maybe it could be a special project, even the Freedom Restoration Foundation down there, we got some more freedoms we got to work on, or maybe a separate organization. Well, there's already organizations for this, and I got a local organization for that too. So that is a separate organization. But the techniques for how they work will be the same. And I may ask some of you guys to join with that in the not too distant future. But I've also done videos with Command Sergeant Major Mike Mabey, who wrote this great book. I got him on my channel. And he tells you what to do at the community level. And he's working on projects to showcase what these companies are hiding, to bring it out, to force it out in the open. That's something else you can do. I call to action. So I've had call to actions I put out to you guys in these areas. For some reason, I don't know what happened, but I got to go call Google. They've taken, not Google, I've got to call GoDaddy because they've taken down my site, my website for Power Grid Defense. And I'd asked them to take down the worm site, and they put something else in place. The worm site, some political stuff. And it's like, really? That caused me to lose about half my customers. And then I asked them to take that out. They said, okay, we'll take it out, and they didn't. And then my Power Grid site goes poof. And now my email for that I've been using goes poof. And I get a different email. I've got to call them. They've got some serious structural problems. I got to get with them on that. Anyway, so it's a whole different matter. But it's just a lot of the little things I got to do. I'm a busy puppy. So defense is something we can deal with, especially at the Power Grid level. It's just things that we can work, that you can do. Globalism. I think the global gulag is a big potential threat to our freedoms. Things like Great Reset, whatever you want to call it, may come in the form of China. You hear me talk about China quite a bit. I think maybe our biggest long-term threat in the world is the CCP coming to us from the People's Republic of China. That's the Chinese Communist Party, because they do not recognize the rights of their own people. They are, they're ready. They were just ruled by the U.S. government as committing genocide upon the Uyghurs. And I didn't say that that's what they do. I said they were ruled that way. Okay, but yeah, I have said that to you. There's a lot of traversity there. I don't know how we give them most favored nation trading status. There's a lot of good people in China. Being Chinese isn't the issue. Taiwanese are also Chinese, and they're very much freedom-loving people, very much so. And people of mainland China would probably be too if they just had the opportunity. But they're under the jackboot of a different kind of regime these days, and it has provided them some prosperity of late by taking in certain free market principles. But it's still a command economy controlled from the top. They have enabled it to have some of the mechanisms of free market, but when you combine an authoritarian system with a corporate system like that, the form of government takes on other names than the ones they use, and their flagship organization, whatever you want to call it. But that's not our topic now. Our topic is kind of cards we're dealt with, things that are coming at us, and how you can deal with. One of the best ways to deal with that with globalism or CCPism is to buy local. I said, start your business. Well, support other people that do that. Support people that have their businesses now. Support the small guys, not the big corporate entities. Support as much as you can the small guys, and pick and choose which of those big corporate entities you support and who you buy from when you can, because this is the most effective vote you have. This vote gets tabulated, and the tabulation is correct. Because money in the bank is money in the bank. There's no other way around it. Unless the bank goes poof because the power grid crashes and they can't access the digital ones and zeros. So there you go. There's your vote. This vote is very important. I say vote other ways too. Go to ballots and vote. But you have economic clout, and it counts. It counts a lot. And how you spend it shapes what kind of country and world we have. Collectively, we do that. We shape our world by who we give these things to. Every time we give one of these, we're given a vote. It's a lesson I learned from Milton Friedman back in 1980 or 81 when I read his book, Free to Choose. So, a very interesting book. Yeah, see, that's the kind of stuff I was reading when I was a kid. Well, I was 20, probably 20, 21. I was 20 when I read that book. I know that for a fact. So freedom, free to choose, but you vote with your dollar. And it has a very, very, very enormous consequence. This is how together we can work to shape our future. And that's something I will be pointing out more in the Freedom Restoration Foundation about different companies and how they do things, and just bring it to their attention so it might help you form better choices in how you spend your money. There you go. So that said, but the best choice always is to buy local. Buy from your local small independent shops. You know what? The hamburgers from the old drugstores are far better than the fast food ones have ever been. Yeah, you get consistency. You always know what you're getting on the fast food. And they got drive-up windows, so they tend to be convenient. Boy, I remember those old small shops. Even I've seen gas stations that made better burgers. Ones that serve food. I mean, really nice burgers, you know. There you go. Fries, well, fries might have been questionable. But the burgers were awesome. So spend your money locally. Local tradesmen, local artisans. You know, you need an electrician, seek out the small guy. You know, check the references. Go, you can get that from Angie's list, and then maybe people you know. Is this one really good? Or you know, you check that out. But once you get good references, that's who to go to. You can get a lot better service for a lot less money than going to the big shops with the big ads. You know. So that's how you do it. That's how you make it happen. Do that. It will help your community and build resilience, sustainability. Rather than you know, buying food, buy it locally as much as you can. You know, that saves fuel and time. It's more nutritious because it comes close to hand. It's fresh. The vitamin content's higher. You can buy fruits and vegetables from your local farmers that aren't built to stay on the store shelf for umpteen years. So they tend to be sweeter, more tender. They're better to eat. You know, they don't last years. They don't last. They may not last as long on a store shelf, but they'll be a lot better. You'll enjoy them a lot more than what you get in the store. So there are numerous advantages. Plus, you can talk to the pharmacists. How do you grow this stuff? And they'll usually tell you exactly. They'll tell you if they're organic or natural grown or what they do. And that's the case. No point in going to organic certifications, to be honest, because that's, you know, they allow a lot of stuff. So finally, spiritual. I've done the session. I had a whole video, and I've talked about this in many other videos, of the universe and the solo cup. I've even covered that topic on other channels. Rex Bear's channel, the Leak Project, I've talked about it 2 or 3 times on the Leak Project. And I've talked about it even on Jeffrey Daugherty's channel. Fortunately, I didn't mess up calling him somebody else this time. And it relates to the power of prayer. I'm not going to go all into it here now because it's quite a discussion. But the power of prayer is real. And how you think is effective for shaping the future. You don't always get what you ask for, what you put out there. Maybe you put it out there wrong. But it's real. Just go check those videos. I'm not going to go into it today. I've already done that many times. That's why you need to go. You may have never seen them. Just go back and check my old videos. You'll find those things. And don't allow me to put 5 in my reference or little banners I put up that pop up throughout the video. But yeah, you can do that. Go through my old videos. Like I said, my videos are building a house, brick by brick. Each video is a brick. So if you don't know what this whole house is going to look like, you got to see all these different videos to get the philosophy, where it's going. But what it's all about is you surviving and thriving. It's not even about any politics. I do talk about these things, but I usually do it in the context for how it impacts this stuff. In terms of staying out of the hive, freedom. Like I do say, the propositions shall help you survive. That's got to do with, you stay alive. And, I do those videos on the eating out of the weeds and trees, which are free. Thriving, growing your garden. I've covered aquaponics. And like I said, I've even talked about starting a your service. I've showed you where to go to do that. So survive, thrive, and stay out of the hive. And I've actually done a couple of videos specifically on the hive, and I've talked about it in other videos. But all this stuff where I'm talking about freedom really pertains to that. It really does. So that is how all this comes together. But hopefully we'll have our communities. And Greg, why don't I live in a community? Well, you don't have to, but if you want to have somebody have your back, it could be really good. And Greg, what if it never hits the fan? What if it never hits the fan? You've got a whole bunch of new friends. You got a very healthy way of living. And I think there's going to be a lot of reward out of these if we set them up right. And it's going to be an ecologically and economically sound approach. That's the whole thing we're trying to set up here. And you don't have to go there. And we're not setting up cults, because I'm going to specify any religion, and every tribe gets to set up however they want to according to the people that go within it. So we're just trying to have each other's back. So there we go. Now, like I said, pardon me for wearing this get up here. I've been busy, just hadn't had time to change it, but I'm about to go eat something messy, so I think I need to get my tie and shirt off, put on something a little grungier here, house style. And we can make it through. We can deal with the cards we're dealt. We just got to be smart. We got to do it. But you can't sit back and wait on them to do it. Well, they will this and they will that. Because I got to tell you something. You are the they. There is no other they. You know, that's like waiting. See, that was the problem. That is the problem. That is the problem with that whole letter like this with a squiggly tail. They were going to do it for you. Yeah. How did that work out? They were going to do this. They were going to do that. All smoke screen. Ha ha. All smoke screen. How did that work out? The whole object of that was, don't worry your pretty little heads. Just roll over and go to sleep. It's all taken care of. Yeah, right. That's why I'm doing this video. It's because you are the they. They is you. You is they. Together, we can ensure that we can survive, thrive, and stay out of the hive. And that's how we'll do it. Through togetherness, compassion, and love. What I always tell people in this channel, I say these things a lot. I tell people to reach out to other people, understand their worldview, see the world as they see it through their own worldview adjusted rose-colored glasses. I've done whole videos talking about just that. I mentioned in other videos. I tell you to be that light dispels darkness and love dispels hate. There's a lot of hate in the world today. And I've said, go out and be the love light. Shine your love light to the world. I've done prayer sessions. Whole videos that were nothing but prayer sessions. Oh my gosh, people unsubscribe in droves when I do that. So they hate them. Some people love them, but then there's just a lot of people that don't get it. They think it's some religious thing. Well, that's some cult thing. Oh, I tell everybody to pray according to their own belief. I'm not trying to lead anybody in any of those directions. We're just hoping the power, collective power, or prayer will serve us overall to steer clear of certain things. And I think we need more of that. So that is the spiritual part of this. Oh, there's one last thing. Bugout. If it hits the fan, if it really hits the fan, you may be bugged in well, and maybe you're bunkered well, and you got your mutual assurance group, and maybe your community that you've built is built in these partially in-ground, well-fortified universal habitat homes that I'm going to show you how to do in the future. And so maybe you can survive all kind of onslaughts. Maybe you're not there. And if you can, it might get to be too much at some point. You might decide you got to get out because they know where you're at there and you just keep getting hit. So at some point you might decide time to get out of Dodge. Then you're bugging out. Maybe that's where you bug out too. But bugging out is something you've got to become familiar with in case you have to go out and live in the woods on maneuvers. We'll talk more about that in the future. So we got a lot of topics to cover in the future on this channel. So make sure you catch these. Make sure you, if not already done, subscribe to my channel, bang that notification bell, and click all. Again, go to True Leaf Market and support me there. You can go to My Patriot Supply. There's all kind of prepping supplies there. If you click the logo, once you go to my link to My Patriot Supply. To do that, go to prepwithgreg.com, prepwithgreg.com, and you get specials there at the very first landing page where you come in. 20% off for long-term food, and you can go and find other prepping supplies. All right, my friends. So, guys, just say this, Greg. I'm going to be the love light to the world, or I am. If you don't agree with that, just say, hey, I am the they. They is me. And other people haven't got this. What are they talking about? Leave that in the notes below. And tell me what you think overall. Some of my videos lately, just the last couple of videos, got a lot of people unsubscribing. If you don't like this message, tell me why. If you tell me I'm fear-mongering and this message is just like, really? This is fear-mongering? Yeah, I've been hearing a lot of that lately. So, hey, go, if you want some fear-mongering, go over listen to Christopher Green on AMTV. I can show you several other channels, prepping channels and other channels where the guys get on the camera and bark at you. And most of the time they're right. Except Christopher Green, he's always World War III is right now. He's been saying that for a couple of years. It's kind of like that, you know, people keep repeating those messages like the letter with a squiggly tail. And by the way, what I've also tended to say to you about other videos I put out there, a lot of times when I put a headline out there, you'll see there's a question mark there. And when I introduce the topic, I say, will there be? Can there be? There is risk that things could happen. There are pressures and tensions. That don't mean they actualize. And that's the good thing. But they are existent pressures and tensions. When I bring something to you, it's out there. If I see something that other people are claiming, scaring everybody to death over that I think is a nothing burger, I've come on here and said so. And I've done that more than once, but the biggest case in point is the that asteroid scare last fall. I said, nope, don't mean that one wouldn't hit us, some rogue asteroid, but it wasn't going to be what they were claiming. So there you go. I hope these things help you. I hope that a lot of people tell me that just my voice calms them because I try to laugh because I'm not scared. How can I be fear-mongering if I'm not scared? And I tell you, never panic. Unlike the guys who have channels who say, don't panic now, I'll tell you when to panic. Never panic. Never panic. Even if we're right in your face. When you panic, they get you. If you don't panic, you got your wits about you. You got the edge. And you always need an edge if somebody's about to breathe down your throat. Don't panic. Think. This is the most powerful thing you carry. It's right here between your ears. Think. All right, my friends. So there we go. Thank you very much. Hope everybody has a wondrous weekend. Thank you for watching.